From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, good morning from the road, Cyber Gang. Yep, 2 weeks in a row. What can I say? I'm garnering massive Delta points at this point, and that should help me, hopefully in the future, make one of those awesome events I never make. So, with that being said, good morning. Happy Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. We've got a very busy show, but we are live. And for Avishai, who's tuning in, we're on Rumble as well as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Twitter's now X, and Facebook, and so forth. And so we're on a lot of different platforms. We enjoy being there. People like us. People tune in and watch. So with that being said, please make sure to subscribe. Please make sure to tune in. We've got a busy show this morning, so I won't waste your time with too many formalities. Outside of saying, please subscribe, and Black Hat content will be coming very soon. So very exciting stuff there. We're going through some editing now and some mastering, but join me for my double espresso. Yes, I'm in a hotel that makes espressos. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. I think espresso machines should be mandatory in every hotel at this point. We'll kick off with health data of 4 million has been stolen in a CLOP MOVEit breach of the Colorado Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing. They're the latest state department to acknowledge an attack by the CLOP ransomware group and the exploitation of it. This is also Colorado's second government data breach. If you recall, just last week, the Colorado Department of Higher Education was also breached. So the latest victim here is the Department of a government department in Colorado. The Healthcare Policy and Financing noticed the problem. They determined it to be a security incident on May 31st. It's affecting its MOVEit transfer application, according to a public notice by the department available online. IBM, which is the third-party contractor with HCPF, uses the application to move data in data files in the normal course of business. After IBM notified the department of the cyber attack on MOVEit, HCPF launched an investigation, determined that while none of its own systems were affected, certain files were, and they were accessed by an unauthorized actor on or about May 28th of this year. Progress Software has publicly acknowledged the issue, and it's impacting many users. However, there's around 4 million people that have been impacted by this, to be exact, 4,091,794. According to the department. Again, over 600 and some odd victims have come forward. We obviously can see kind of a connection now where IBM, who's working with a lot of government entities, was using MOVEit to move data along. So there's that as well. Discord is confirming their own data breach after hackers steal data of 760,000 users. The Discord.io custom invite service is temporarily shut down after suffering its own data breach, exposing the information of 760,000 members. Discord.io is not the official Discord site, but a third-party service allowing server owners to create custom invites to their channel. Most of the community was built around the service Discord's server with over 14,000 members. Yesterday, a person known as Akira began offering the Discord.io database for sale on a new breached hacking forum. As proof of the theft, the actor shared 4 user records from the database. For those unfamiliar with the new breach, it's the rebirth of a popular cybercrime forum known for the sales and leaking of data there as well. So this was first reported by Stack Diary. They've confirmed the authenticity of the breach in a notice to its Discord server and website has begun temporarily shutting down its services in response. So it's the latest victim. And by the way, I mean, why would you do this? Well, because there's a lot of money in Discord servers, a ton of money. If you're able to take over these accounts, if you're able to push out content to get people to buy crypto, and you're kind of doing crypto pump and dumps, or order stuff or buy products from you, you're able to get more and credentials. Send them to another page, get them to log in, steal the credentials, a whole bunch of stuff there. Microsoft has enabled Windows Kernel CVE-2023-32019 fix for everyone. Microsoft has enabled the fix for the kernel information disclosure vulnerability by default for everyone after previously disabling out of concern. It could introduce breaking changes to Windows. They've now apparently validated this. CVE 2023-32019 and has a medium severity rating of 4.7, with Microsoft rating the flaw as important. The bug was discovered by Google Project Zero security researcher Mateusz Jurczyk, and it allows an authenticated attacker to access the memory of a privileged process to extract information. It's not believed to have been exploited in the wild, but nonetheless, it's now available. You want to make sure you get that patched. Sticking with Microsoft, they're now on the lens of a DHS Cyber Safety Review Board after it's bringing its attention to the intrusion into Microsoft Exchange Online by the Chinese. The effort will include a broader review of issues relating to cloud-based identity and authentication. We must, as a country, acknowledge the increasing criticality of cloud infrastructure to our daily life and identify the best ways to secure that infrastructure and the many businesses and consumers that rely on it, according to DHS Undersecretary for Policy Rob Silvers. Reported targets of the Microsoft incident include senior U.S. officials like Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo and the ambassador to China. The Microsoft incident speared up aggressive response from several policymakers, although no action has yet really been taken, by the way. And the only person really speaking of the Chinese threat openly and aggressively is none other than the fearless leader of CISA, Jen Easterly, who at Black Hat during her keynote, which I unfortunately missed. I had the dates down wrong for this, so I'm reading about it after the fact. She said that the Chinese government would consider destructive or disruptive attacks on American pipelines, railroads, and other critical infrastructure if it believed the U.S. would get involved during a potential invasion of Taiwan. Saying this during the DEF CON security conference, Easterly spoke alongside TSA admin David Pekoski about efforts to both address the country's cybersecurity gaps and convince the white hat community to lend a helping hand. Easterly herself didn't hold back in describing the threat from China, openly confirming concerns raised by White House officials in a New York Times story last month about the potential of a destructive cyber attack during an invasion of Taiwan. In May, Microsoft and U.S. officials revealed that attackers connected to the government in Beijing had moved beyond their penchant for surveillance and data theft. They've developed capability for disruption to U.S. critical infrastructure, particularly on military bases in Guam. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province. We're not going to get into what China sees Taiwan as. What we are getting into is the fact that now there's at least one person in government that's willing to acknowledge the threats from China. And that's really, really important to understand, because as practitioners, when we're relying risk, all of our risk in China, everything that we do in China as a business is a greater risk for our organization. And so the right move as security practitioners is to find better alternatives to reduce that risk, including minimizing the risk from China. So don't stop maybe manufacturing everything in China. Move some of it to India, move some of it to Guatemala, move some of it to Honduras, move some of it to South America. And so start spreading out your manufacturing, your supply chain risk, and so forth. Start looking for US-based manufacturers for some of your critical active parts. It's a tougher search, I can tell you from personal experience. It takes a lot of groundwork. It takes a lot of work to get it. But once you establish it, you've now secured a critical component of your business. And in the event that the Chinese decide to make a fatal mistake and go after Taiwan, that's going to drag and probably lead to a World War III, your business is likely to have minimized impact. And that's very critical because geopolitics mixes into cyber, and cyber is in everything. So with that being said, Easterly said on Saturday that the escalation was alarming because officials have spent more than a decade fighting against Chinese cyber attack that focused on the theft of financial and technological information. And we have, and what Director Easterly says here very, very effectively is the Chinese kind of launched a multi-staged attack. They stole IP. They got us all fully vested into China. They've made it so that they can do their work, and they can obviously in front of our face steal IP, recreate it, and no one will do a thing about it. And so Director Easterly is right in her assessment that this is going to lead to disruption and significant disruption, and China knows this, and so we ought to be prepared for it, and it's our job to do so. China's also Now, because of some of this, by the way, this geopolitical situation here is getting really, really tense. So the Global Time, which is a CCP propaganda outlet, is saying that China's getting ready to disclose a secret U.S. global reconnaissance systems. Chinese authorities have pledged, they're pledges, they're communist pledges, y'all, to publicly disclose a highly secretive global reconnaissance system operated by the U.S. government following an investigation into the alleged hacking of an earthquake monitor equipment in Wuhan. The claims mark the latest of a series of attempts by the CCP to highlight Washington's intelligence gathering efforts in response to criticism of Beijing's activity, which, according to the U.S., are often conducted in breach of international law by targeting commercial rather than national security material. The Global Times reported on Monday that the disclosure would be made as a result of progress in a joint investigation by the Chinese National Computer Virus Emergency Response Center and the internet security company Qihu 360 into alleged espionage targeting seismic intensity data. It's quoted Zhao Jingguan, a member of the crucial advisory body to the Chinese Communist Party and the chief software architect at antivirus company Anti-Labs, saying that the data has significant intelligence value for judging geological terrain, analyzing weapon systems, and nuclear tests. It absolutely does. And it lets you know that the U.S. is also there as well. China doing espionage, we're returning in kind. Charming Kitten is targeting Iranian dissidents with an advanced malware. German Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution has warned of cyber attacks targeting Iranian persons and organizations in the country since the end of last year. The cyber attacks were mainly directed against dissident organizations and individuals like lawyers, journalists, and human rights activists inside and outside of Iran. The intrusions have been attributed to a threat actor called Charming Kitten, which is also tracked under APT-35. I'm not going to say the other names. Y'all know the story here. While Iranian nation-state actors lag behind the Russians and Chinese counterpart in sophistication, they've demonstrated a continued advancement of tools and techniques, adding an arsenal of custom malware to facilitate information gathering and rapidly exploiting end-day security flaws to obtain initial access. So they're using video chat to conceal attacks. They're also using other means in order to spy over their Iranian descendants who are against the tyrannical regime in Iran. So there's that. And our final story of the day, and not a good one, unfortunately, the folks over at SecureWorks are laying off nearly 15% of their staff this morning. The SEC filing said that employees are being notified starting yesterday. In addition, the company revealed it's implementing certain real estate-related cost optimization actions. Under the plan, the company intends to rebalance investments, cross-functionality, and alignment with the company's current strategy and growth opportunities, such as focusing on the higher value, higher margin Tega solutions, optimizing the company's organizational structure to increase scalability, and other priorities to better position the company for continued growth. Severance and other termination benefits, as well as expenses, are expected to be around $14.2 million. The layoff will impact staff in the U.S., UK, Japan, India, Australia, Middle East, Romania, and other European countries. SecureWorks CEO Wendy Thomas said that the goal is to simplify and scale our business and deliver profitable growth. If you are tuning into the show, you know someone who is laid off from SecureWorks and are looking for a role, please tag them in the comments, and then we'll share. I'll magnify this 10 times over on LinkedIn and other platforms to make sure they get attention that they need in order to find their next role. So that's it for our show this morning, y'all. My heart goes out to the folks at SecureWorks that have been laid off, unfortunately, and the community is here to support you. If we learned anything from Black Hat last week, is this community will stand on its two back feet to help one another. So thank y'all for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe. Tag anyone you know that's been laid off and your favorite morning beverage. Also, don't forget that. We'll be back tomorrow with a whole lot more. Till then, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.